move to the monthly Dutchess County LDC meeting. Sarah, could you please take a roll for attendance?
Yes. Mark Doyle?
Are we still recording?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
I
believe so.
didn't know if that.
Oh, do we need to do a break?
On.
Do we need a break? In between?
No, we're fine. We're
Okay.
fine.
All right,
So-
go ahead.
You have me.
Mark Doyle?
Yeah.
Kathy Bauer? Here. Amy Bombadiri?
Here.
Jamie Pacone?
Here.
Don Sagliano?
Here.
Al Torgiani?
Here.
Tim Dean?
Here, and we have a quorum without a need for Amy, correct?
Yes, we have a
Okay.
quorum with that.
Okay. I want to point out that we have a conflict of interest disclosure policy. If anybody's aware of a conflict now on any agenda item, please declare that. And or if it comes up during the meeting that you discover one, please let us know. And I will be the first to acknowledge a conflict, and that is that Marshall and Sterling does provide some insurance and risk management services to Marist College. So I will be leaving the room and not taking part in that discussion or vote. And so at that time, Mark, I will ask Mark to take over. Any other conflicts? Okay. Proof of meeting notice posted? Okay. Bills and communications?
None.
All right. Approval of the minutes, February 8th meeting. Does everybody have a chance to review those? Okay. If there are no changes, I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Jamie.
Second.
Thank you, Al. Sarah, would you just take a vote on the approval of the minutes?
Yes. Mark Doyle?
Approve.
Kathy Bauer?
Approved.
Amy Bombadiri?
Approved.
Jamie Pacone?
Approve.
Don Sagliano?
Approve.
Al Torgiani?
Approved.
Tim Dean?
Approved. Okay, report of the treasurer.
Yes. Okay, looking at the balance sheet, we have 2.7 million in cash. New to the balance sheet, which you'll see when we go through the audit, we have the right of use lease, which is 803,000 with the accumulated amortization of 155. Also below is the accounts payable. There's accrued payroll in there. And then you'll see the lease liability of almost 61,000 in the current, and then the long term, we have a lease liability.
Related to the right of use.
Correct.
And
So that's all new.
That's a new accounting pronouncement.
Yep.
Right, the GASB 87,
Sure.
which was in effect January 1st, 2022, and it's in the audited financials for 2022.
It was previously called, what was the line previously on?
There was no.
There was nothing.
Totally new.
No.
It's new.
We just expensed it as it occurred before. Is that
Correct.
So now it's a liability.
Did they have to restate that?
Yes.
Well, we did to the, they restated. it.
We restated.
Yeah, they put it back in.
Looking at the P and L, we have cash revenue of almost 15,000 to a budget of 926,000. Expenditures, 196,000 to a budget of to a budget of 1.3. With a net income loss of 182,000 to a budgeted loss of 347,000. Again, we're looking at an annual budget for just 2 months.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions? All right. Report of committees, finance and audit. Kathy.
Okay. So for the LDC, on page 1, with the required communications from our accountant, RBT, they did not identify any significant or unusual transactions. The accounting policies that the agency conforms to are under the government, United States of America Government Unit, GASB, accounting procedures. There were no adjustments made to the original trial balances. They're not aware of any misstatements. They did not encounter any disagreements from management, and there was no significant issues arising from the audit. We go over right page. On page 1 of the independent auditors report, the significant emphasis is what we just discussed, was the changes to GASB 87 for the lease. As we go through, you'll see it listed as a liability and an asset and how it's broken down in the footnotes. There's 3 footnote changes at the end on how we have to account for the lease changes. Okay. So I am going to start with page 7 with our assets and liabilities in the balance sheet. We had cash of $2.7 million, which remained fairly stable from the previous year. The previous year is reinstated, I should say, because of the
Restated.
Restated,
Yes.
because of adding the lease liabilities and assets. The service contract and receivables went up slightly to 188,000, leaving us with current assets of $2.9 million, which is pretty stable compared to the previous year. On the following section of non-current assets, you'll see the first intangible right of use asset of 647,000. That is the lease as an asset. And it was restated for 2021, and the value then was
Sorry, what page are you on?
227.
Yeah,
Oh, still back at 7.
648.
Okay,
Got it.
got it. Okay,
Excuse me.
yes. It took us a while to wrap our heads around this, Mark, so if you have
Yeah,
any questions.
Well, I guess my question is, the reduction in the value of the lease asset in 22 over 21. If I'm,
Amortization.
While years getting kicked off the lease,
Yes.
you're paying it off.
Yeah, it's called.
So amortization is not like
Amortization.
used years in a lease. It's
Yes.
just nonsense.
I got it 100%.
Yeah.
And so
You're on the hook.
It's gonna go down.
how many years have we still got to run on the lease?
We have a 6-year lease, a 6-year lease with a renewable option for another 6 years. It's in the footnotes in the back.
All right, no,
Okay.
I got it 100%. Yep.
Okay.
Only show it on a year-to-year basis, not for this, we don't accumulate any asset of the 6-year value of the lease in this.
Not on this statement, it's in the footnotes where it shows the
Yes.
accumulated, yes, okay.
In essence, it's got a very limited adjustment between the assets and liabilities of the entity as a whole.
Right.
It's more what the terminology that's used in the accounting industry is known as window dressing. Because what they want to do is they want the users of financial statement to have more information.
About obligations.
It's always been disclosed in
Yeah.
the footnotes,
Right.
which really is where all the information is on a financial statement, so.
Let's see, okay, so that gives
Sorry,
us,
Kathy.
no, it's all right, that's okay. And we have total assets of 3.6 million opposed to the previous year, 3.7 million. Now, under the current liabilities, we have our accounts payables, which are up slightly to 54,000. We have our lease liability, so that's current, so that's within a year, of 60,000. And the previous year was 55,000, bringing our total current liabilities 110,000. Long-term lease liabilities is 636,000 as opposed to previous year of 697,000. Bringing our total liabilities of 752,000. And that changes our net position to 2.8 million year over year, down about $110,000. The next page has some of the activities that the agency did. Sarah referred to these in the previous meetings presentation. They had 66 site visits, 216 technical assistance to unique businesses, 4 companies registered for the minority and women's designations. They had 16 workshop and events, 337 referrals to partner organizations.
You don't have to, I don't.
Okay,
You don't need to.
we went through all that.
If anybody has any
Okay.
questions, they can.
So on page 8 now for the income and expenses. Administrative and closing fees were 266,000, up slightly. Marketing revenue was 96,000, that almost more than doubled. Service contract revenue was up 798,000, that's from the county and sponsorships. bringing us with total revenues of 1.1 million, up 300,000 over the previous year. Advertising for our expenses was 249,000. Again, that's our events. And that's.
Because we actually had.
We had them. We finally had events. So, most of the other expenses remain fairly flat. The amortization is in there now for the lease at 77,740. It's straight line over a 10-year basis, so that number will remain consistent year over year. Our operating expenses then were $1.2 million, up to about 200,000. And for year over year, we had net change of 88,000 negative. Any questions, anybody on these?
Can I ask a question that's really just to educate myself? And that is, so if we're amortizing this lease, back to the lease.
Why don't we go
But
to the
yet we're
footnotes?
showing that as, no, it's just more like a technical.
Okay,
But we're showing it as a depreciation, so that has a tax consequence as
Tax, but not for
depreciation.
profit.
We're not.
That's a not-for-profit, but, all right, so this is not a methodology that would be used anywhere else in a for-profit.
Oh, it is.
oh, it is.
Yeah, it is.
And it would have tax
yeah.
Did mine,
consequences,
yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
you better start capitalizing those apple trees.
Well, we do.
Yeah,
But a lease is, right,
No, this is
Damn, production
industry-wide, industry in,
Yes.
both in the governmental sector, the not-for-profit sector, and the commercial sector.
so
We're
from a
going to the
lease,
same-
you can no longer
we're
show
going-
it as an expense, you have to show it as a depreciation.
As
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Amortization.
Amortization.
Depending upon
Amortization.
whether it's a right of use lease or it may be a tax advantage lease,
Yeah.
where the ownership transfers at the end of the lease, then you don't have to do it as a right of use lease.
Oh,
Check with your external accounting.
no, thank you. Growing apples here and
He's
depreciation.
gonna send you a bill now.
No.
Okay.
All right, so if we go to the footnotes, there's 3 sections on the lease. On number 12, those are the changes on the footnotes. We have the capital asset where we have to show it as an asset, even though it's a lease. We're showing it as a right to use asset. So on number 2, you will see that, and you also see that it's amortized as straight line amortization over 10 years, meaning what we amortize every single year remains the same. So.
Just a quick question about policies D. Obviously, there's some consternation with all of this banking issues going on, but it says the corporation's cash balances were fully collateralized.
Yes, they're collateralized the way, well, I can only speak for the one bank that we use. It is fully FDIC insured, which you have
Laddered
with,
CDs.
no, it's in a product where you get FDIC coverage from a group of banks.
Is that the ISC?
The ICS, the Insured Cash
ICS,
Street.
yeah.
Yeah, mhm.
Good,
I
thank you.
don't know.
That's true.
That's okay.
And then-
Salisbury has
For
that?
Salisbury, and then the other bank would have to supply third-party collateral if they had it in anything other than an ICS.
Well, it does say here that it's fully collateralized.
Yes,
I can
it is.
assume
He
that-
does have it.
Yep. mhm.
Great, thank you.
So maybe since Kathy's in that channel, she could just explain it a little bit more to all the board members.
Okay, so,
Exactly. Give us the 20-second.
well, just to be clear, so we're asking general questions. Kathy
Yes.
would have a conflict if we were asking specifically. about-
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So Kathy,
In
but,
general.
All right, then I
Yes.
could speak to it, so I don't have a conflict.
Like, yeah.
well, she can.
In general,
Yeah,
banks send out statements that show the third-party collateral or the additional FDIC coverage with the certificate numbers as to where the collateral or insurance is coming from, which other banks or which government agencies.
and we have our
And we get
auditors
those
have
monthly.
checked that, and if we didn't have it, they would tell us.
Yes, that would have been a.
And then they would be
client's
uninsured.
issue.
Yes.
Yes.
We don't want. Okay, thank you. All right, continuing.
Okay, all right, so footnote number 2 shows the straight line depreciation and the amortization for the lease for year over year. Footnote 3 breaks down the interest rate that we are assuming after abundance of research as to what prevailing interest rates were at the beginning of 2022 that our accountant said that we could use. So you have a principal amount, you have an interest amount, and the total amount that would be paid each year. And then that's for the whole entire time of the lease. Footnote 7 says that we had to adopt Gatsby 87.
And we have our,
Then we have on page 15, we have our conduit of indebtedness. It's 1,388,450,000 at the year ending 12/31/2022.
and I emphasize the word conduit.
And then the next couple pages show our projects that we have. And with the FTEs, retained, new jobs created. And then at the very end, again, there was no internal control findings and no compliant findings on the very last page. Anybody have any other questions?
Questions? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion for the approval of the 2022 audit. Anybody wants to make?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Jamie. Could I get a second? Al, thank you. Okay, Sarah.
Mark Doyle,
Approved.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Jamie Picone,
Approved.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
Al Torgiani,
Approved.
Tim Dean.
Approved. Is
And
Amy,
then Amy has left the meeting, so she
Okay.
will not be able to vote.
okay, and our, okay, good. All right. Unfinished business.
None.
Okay. New business, Marist College, and this is where I'm going to step out and ask Mark to take over. And on my way out, I will ask the individual from Marist, are they here in person?
Yes, I think, Beth, if you could turn your, is it possible for you to turn your camera on?
I'm trying.
Oh, they're not here in person. Okay.
I- I'm-
Step out. No.
Is it started? Can you see me?
We see a red screen.
Oh, sorry. There it goes. I never like when the camera stares at me. So,
All right. So shall I join in over here? Okay, hello. I'm Mark Doyle, standing in for Chair Tim Dean. So Sarah, would you lead off with a description of the
Yes.
application?
So Marist College is in front of the board today for their inducement resolution. They are requesting conduit tax exempt bond financing through the LDC in the amount of $39,400,000 to refund previously issued LDC bonds, in particular 2013A, 2013B, and 2016. These bonds were used to refinance older IDA bonds and finance the construction of the Science and Allied Health Building, the Student Center, and general campus improvements. We have this morning Beth Easy, CFO of Marist College, to answer any board questions you may have about the bond.
Thank you very much. Perhaps, Beth, you could just explain to us where you're at with the build out and is everything completed, the funds utilized?
yeah, so these are all, this particular financing is all refinancing of previously issued debt, all of which, these projects have been long since been completed. And so I was just going back, I think I heard you, Sarah, mention the Allied Health Building. I do want to clarify, these bonds did not finance Allied Health. So it's 3 series of bonds. The 13A bonds, which are currently outstanding, is fixed rate bonds in the public market. Those were used to finance the Murray Student Center, which houses a lot of our student activities, our main dining hall, a music facility, our bookstore, so a variety of sort of student oriented supplemental services. Then also we're refinancing the 13B and 16 bonds, which are variable rate bonds privately placed with TD Bank. And those were used to finance the library, Fontaine Hall, which houses our development offices as well as the School of Liberal Arts. It's primarily based in that building, and then a number of different housing facilities across campus. We're also in the 13B and 16 bonds. And the reason we're undertaking this refinancing is kind of twofold. The 13A bonds are actually currently callable starting July 1. So with the opportunity to refinance potentially for savings, although the market is not cooperating in that right now. So the 13As are very much day to day as to whether or not they produce present value and cash flow savings for us as an organization. But the 13B and 16 bonds we're actually refinancing because those bonds are still indexed to LIBOR. And so we need to undertake the conversion with the bank to convert to the SOFR rate. But in the process of that index reconversion, the bank is also repricing the bonds, which is making them expensive relative to our opportunity to fix the bonds in the market, and also to then remove some interest rate risk and some other risks inherent in the current bond structure. So that's really the purpose behind the refinancing here. There's no current construction on any of these projects. As you know, though, it was around this time last year, I was in front of you seeking approval for the Dyson facility, which is underway and still on schedule. You can still see through it. It's just the steel beams, but we are making progress on that. And we are still slated for the Dyson facility to open in May of 2024 is when we're anticipating that construction would be complete, so that that is ready for the fall semester starting in September, or August and September of 2024. And it just as a reminder, that facility houses our primarily our School of Management programs, as well as the School of Social and Behavioral Sciences, which provides teacher education, criminal justice, and psychology and mental health counseling services are the educational programs within social and behavioral sciences.
Well, it's a remarkable asset for the region, and that's a fantastic development. Now, Council, so are there any comments that you have relative to the?
No, I mean, this is just basically a refinancing, funding arrangement where they're trying to just maneuver within the markets, and the change from LIBOR to SOFR is something we've done for others, and we have to do that to keep the bonds current.
Right. And are there questions from any of the members of the board? Okay. So I think we can entertain a motion in a second.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. And second from
I'll second it.
Don Sagliano. Thank you very much. Will you call the roll?
Sure. Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Jamie Bacone,
Approved.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
Al Torgiani, Mark Doyle.
Thank you very much indeed.
All right,
Good luck
thank you.
Good luck with the market.
Great, thank you. Bye.
So this is preliminary, and there will be a public hearing, and we will.
Yeah.
All right.
Back to the plan. Okay.
I will get-
Okay, Tim is going to go back in again. Back in. Okay.
All right, so next thing on the agenda is the Paris reports. Sarah, I will let you take that.
Yes, so, you have the annual report. First, again, please review your information to make sure it is, accurate. But, again, the first part is, should, follow with our, audited financial statements. Two projects that are new that I'd like to bring to the board's attention is on page 23 of 34. The second box is the Culinary Institute of America Series 2022 bond. This is actually the forward delivery of the 2021 transaction. So in 2021, the board approved a 2021 issuance and the forward delivery of the 22 issuance. So it appears now, even though it was approved back in 2021. And then on page 29 of 34, Beth alluded to, it's a bond issuance for Marist College for the construction of the Dyson Center. So those are the two new entries for this year.
Before I forget, I wanted to acknowledge in the LDC also that there were no correcting journal entries on our financial reports. And again, I think that's, I'd like to commend Jane for that. That's really great. And again, with our organization rightfully under great scrutiny by many parties, it's always nice to have that confidence with someone like you behind us. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. And that, allows us to have Paris reports that are accurate, right?
Timely.
Yes. So does anybody have any questions about the Paris report?
Oh, and then just real
Oh,
quick.
I'm sorry.
That was the
I
annual
apologize.
report.
Yes, yes.
So the investment report, the same thing. What you're seeing is placeholders on the general location or website. Once the audit is uploaded, it'll have the exact location of that. And then procurement report is our purchases over 5,000 in 2022. And then the certified financial audit, we couldn't complete, but we will have completed after the year.
We'll approve that today. All right. Any questions? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the Paris reports as a group, the annual report, the investment report, procurement report, and the audit report. Could I get a motion?
I'll make that.
Thank you, Al. Could I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kathy. Sarah, could you take a vote on this, please?
Yes. Mark Doyle, Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Jamie Picone,
Approved.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
Al Torgiani,
Approved.
Tim Dean.
Approved. Okay, the next item on the agenda, I am going to say to all of you that we are going to delay that for the next meeting because very simple reason. I had a loss in my family and then I had a scheduled vacation and I was unable to get the review forms to all of you.
Yeah, I thought.
Yes. So I'm going to hand them out to you now and I will ask that you get them back to me prior to our next meeting. And then I will collate them into, as I've done in the past, into an overall report. And we will have a discussion about them in executive session at that time and address item C and item D. And I apologize to Sarah that they're delayed a little bit. All right, so I will hand out both the form for the review as well as Sarah has a list of her accomplishments, which she may have sent directly to everybody already, but if not, you have them with us. So make sure that you get them with me, and I'll follow up with an email to remind everybody to get those back. Pass those around. Mark, I think you actually already did yours.
I did.
Okay, and here's the actual review. Okay, is there any other matters that need to come before us? Okay, I adjourn the meeting of the Dutchess County LDC. Thank you all for your
She
patience.
has it right on the table.
Okay, we are adjourned.